Hey, what's up guys? Here's the quick and dirty. These gloves make long rides possible in cold weather, still allow good dexterity for managing throttle and brakes, and provide at least minimal crash protection, all for a price that's super competitive with other heated gear. For all the details on the positives, and only a few small negatives, stay tuned. My hands are always the biggest challenge on long winter motorcycle rides. It's really easy to bulk up with layers under my jacket and pants, but with hands you have some conflicting routes to take. You want as much feel as possible with the controls, but the more you add bulky insulation for warmth, the less feel you have. Hence the reason I fell back on the glove liners. If you wear your insulated summer leather gloves that provide great feel, your hands will quickly get cold, stiff, and painful, and you still end up with less feel. And in really cold temperatures or day-long rides, even the best insulated gloves won't be enough. Hence the reason I fell back on my winter riding gloves. The solution is to provide external heat, and there are only two ways to do that. Heated grips are the common solution, and I quickly decided that wasn't the route I wanted to take. For one, it's a bit more maintenance than I wanted to do on the bike in one weekend, and two, you just don't need them all year long. One other reason that I just thought of is that they don't provide the heat where you most need it, the back of your hand. It's great and all for the inside, but those fingers get lapped out in the warmth. I needed the heat directly on the back of my hand to protect against the cold wind chill, so we moved on. The Hotwired 12V gloves take the opposite approach. The heating elements and light insulation are on the back of the gloves, not the palms. So the gloves apply heat to the part of your hand as out here taking the full force of the chilling wind. The Hotwired gloves are manufactured in China and are made of a combination of leather and textile with a comfy polyester lining. The palm is made of leather with no insulation beyond the thin polyester lining, so they provide a similar feel on the controls to summer weight gloves. On top of the leather are two suede patches, one at the base of the first three fingers and thumb, where you grip the handlebar, and another at the base of the palm. There's also suede on the side of the first finger, useful for wiping road spray off your helmet visor. The back of the glove is mostly textile construction with leather patches on the backs of the fingers. There's no hard knuckle protection, but there are small pads on the back of the fingers, between the first and second joints, and on the back of the hand. There's a wrist closure to snug down on the gloves. The Hotwired 12V heated gloves have about the lowest level of crash protection of any of the pairs of motorcycle gloves I have, hands down. Clearly, the focus is directly on the heat, which is pretty important to me, honestly. In other words, these are about increasing the heat, plain and simple. The Hotwired gloves use stainless steel alloy filaments that cover the back of the glove all the way down to the ends of the fingers. If you've had experience with earlier heated gear that use copper wires, stainless steel filaments are thinner and therefore more comfortable. People with more expertise than I also say they will not get brittle and be less likely to fail over time, compared to the copper lines. If you're using the gloves alone, as I am, they come with a long wiring harness that will connect into an SAE lead with a coaxial converter, linked below. What that means is I can easily hook up a battery tender when the bike is sitting, or a USB outlet to charge my phone on the road. The square you see on the back of the glove is the temperature controller. Each glove is set independently to one of the three heat levels or off. The switch lights up for red for the highest setting, yellow for medium, and green for low. So you can see at a glance what setting the glove is on. For my first use of the gloves, after picking them up on a visit to Cycle Gear, I left them on high heat. Let me tell you, these gloves really put out a lot of heat on high. In fact, the vast majority of the time I've used them, they've been set on low or medium. I would only recommend high if you're spending a decent amount of time on the highway and it's below freezing. Outside that, not necessary. This ride, for example, started out with a temperature of 44 degrees. I started out on medium, but did most of the ride with my gloves set on low. My point is, you don't have to worry about these gloves getting hot enough. This also goes to my point about glove liners. The liners will only put out the lowest amount of heat and don't come with the temperature controller to increase the heat. This is why these gloves are so great, and with the temperature on the back of the glove, you can easily change those settings at a stoplight or even while you're riding. As I said before, all of the heat is on the back of your hands, and I feel like this makes me a lot more comfortable than any of my other previous setups of gloves and handguards, which only kept my palms warm and meant I still needed extra stops on long rides because of painfully cold fingertips. It was the worst. Hotwired says the gloves draw 22 watts, which shouldn't be a problem for any modern motorcycle, even my 2013 KLR 650. Unless you're running other electrical accessories, with just two gloves connected, you got plenty of power left to run the jacket liner if you need to. The Hotwired gloves are claimed to be waterproof. Honestly, I haven't seen anything that is contrary to this, though I tend to dry my gloves off either way anytime I use them in the rain with a glove warmer inside the house. My recommendation though, try not to expose them to that much rain long term, as you never know what will happen to the electrical side of things. My ride this morning was greatly improved by the Hotwired gloves. No painful, cold, stiff fingers making me worry that I won't be able to brake effectively or pull the clutch if I need to on the road. The drivers out here are honestly pretty awful. That being said, I was just way more comfortable with these gloves. So I've listed off all of the upsides to heated gloves, especially Hotwired's heated gloves. Now that's not to say they're perfect. There are pros and cons to every solution. In this case, some apply to the heated gloves in general, and others apply specific to these Hotwired gloves. There's a certain annoyance factor to using any heated gear that's wired to your bike. You always have to remember to unplug before getting off and walking away. The 6-foot+ of wiring running through my jacket, to my gloves, to the bike, it gives you a false sense of being able to walk away when you actually can't. I've had to catch myself a few times when I've gotten off and still haven't unplugged. For that reason, I honestly considered getting battery-powered gloves, so they wouldn't be connected to the bike. They probably would be fine for most of my riding, but on those occasions, when I'm making the hour-long trip into work, I'd be out of juice halfway on my way home, in the best of circumstances. So I decided to go for a wired solution that will work whenever I need them, as long as I need them. Additionally, the 7-volt battery-powered gloves honestly don't provide as much heat as the 12-volt battery-powered gloves, so if you need hot gloves, these are the solution. As for drawbacks with the Hotwired gloves specifically, I can point to two. First, a lot of users have mentioned that the gauntlet is too small to fit over the sleeves of some jackets. In terms of my case, I can't agree more with this statement. If you prefer to wear the gauntlet under your sleeve, it's definitely not an issue. The second thing I like to point to is level of cross protection, which I classify as minimally acceptable. There are no hard sliders or knuckle protectors, and the few pads on the back of the gloves seem tacked on at the most random spots and probably don't provide that much protected if you were getting a crash. I found this to be common to a lot of cold weather motorcycle gloves. Honestly, my other ones have the knuckle protectors, but that's really about it. So for these gloves specifically, Hotwired is mainly focused on the temperature and not the crash. That being said, they do offer more protection than other non-motorcycle heated gloves, and honestly are good middle ground for having hot gloves and good protection. Finally, a note on fitment. In general, these fit true to size. I'm currently wearing a size medium, and I generally wear a size large to XL. The leather in these gloves will naturally tend to expand after some use, hence the smaller size. They're not too tight, though they were a little bit uncomfortable at first. That being said, the heat is that much warmer as it's super snug against my hand. Thankfully, Revzilla makes returns and exchanges easy if you order online. If you go to your local cycle gear who has these gloves in stock, you can try them on and get the right fit for you. So, what's the bottom line? After a few weeks of use, there's no signs of wear. If I'm just running errands around town, I usually don't bother using them, so I don't have to deal with the waters. But on a cold ride of more than 15 to 20 minutes, I wouldn't go without them. And on that 1-hour ride into work and back, they make me much more comfortable and safe. On something like a day-long trip or a 500-mile trip, whatever say you, they'll keep you on the road longer because you're not having to stop to thaw out your cold hands. So, should you buy them or not? If you're like me and need some heated gear but didn't want to go all in on some more of the expensive ones, this is a good middle ground. You have good crash protection at a cost of $80 to $100 depending on the sale that provide the right amount of heat that you need to keep you on the road. I especially enjoyed this crisp fall day out here in Seattle. If you'll leave a like and subscribe to my channel, it would be much appreciated. Hope to see you guys in the next one. Catch hell.